I pledge to stay drug free.
I plan to stay drug free.
I pledge to stay drug free.
I pledge to be drug free.
I pledge to stay drug free.
And good afternoon, and welcome to Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I am your host, Darwin Griffin, and I look forward to having a guest who is going to enlighten you on a lot of history. I've been enlightened on some of the things that we talked about even before the show started. So if you would like to call in to the show, our show is live. Our calling numbers are area code 313-868-0342, 313-868-0351, and 313-868-4336. And the website is www.tv33whpr.com. And you're watching on Channel 33 in the great cities of Detroit and Highland Park, Michigan. And I do want to say that I am very pleased to have a special guest with me. I just met her for the first time today, but it seems like we've been knowing each other for years. But she's got a lot of good information that she has been disseminating out to me about some things in Black Bottom, Paradise Valley, on Hastings Street. But before we get started, we're talking about that project that she's involved in. First, I'd like to talk to her about the help site that she is also going to, give some information about. And without further ado, my special guest is Miss Kimberly Cooley. Ms. Cooley, thank you for being on the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good, good. Well, you mentioned to me about there's it's called the Help Site.
Yes.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about what is the Help Site?
Okay, the Help Site is a 501c3 nonprofit that I started, very proud of it. And HELP stands for Helping Every Life Progress.
Okay.
All right, so just an idea that I had a while ago. I have a varied background. So I have a corporate background. I worked with Xerox Corporation doing...
Just come a little closer to the mic.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I used to work with Xerox Corporation, so I started as a training regional manager,
Okay.
and then I moved on to become recruiting, coaching, developing in the field, things like that. But I also have a human services background. So in doing that, people may remember from a while back, there was a company called CareerWorks.
Oh, yeah.
So I worked
Up
for
on
CareerWorks.
6 Mile at one
yes.
point.
6 Mile if you're from Detroit, McNichols if you read the sign.
Correct, correct.
So I worked with them for a while. So I started with the adults, and so I worked with pretty much everybody there. And then I moved over on Roads and Parks, and I worked with the youth program. So because I have experience of working in so many different backgrounds, everything just kind of came into play. Working with Xerox Corporation was great. I loved it. I started here. I got reassigned to Georgia, Atlanta,
Okay.
Georgia area, and I covered the whole Southeast. It was awesome. So I lived in Georgia, but I covered most of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida Panhandle, and I don't know how, but half of Virginia. So I traveled a lot, but it was great. I had good experiences. And then one day I got downsized. So in getting downsized, sometimes you reinvent yourself.
Oh, yeah. No question.
And I have a friend she's a millionaire, and she told the story about how she got laid off and wound up going into business for herself. And she said she has what she calls her Vicky-isms. And she said the one thing is, how do you know what you do? What do people ask you to do? So the help site is kind of a combination of all the things that people ask me to do.
Okay.
So again, working with CareerWorks, I did the career development, workforce development. So I did interview coaching. I actually have a program called 99 Problems. Interviewing won't be one.
Oh,
So I
good.
have one
Okay.
for adults.
Okay.
I have one for youth. And then I teach them how it's not just something that you do to get a job, but interviewing is actually a life skill. So we talk about that. And I have done it here in the city. So it's pretty exciting. I want to do more, but I have been able, to do some things.
Well, I used to be involved with workforce development.
Did you? Okay.
And, I know of the CareerWorks and other, workforce sites.
Okay.
But I know one of the questions that I think was probably one of the more difficult questions that a lot of employers would ask an interviewer was the question about, do you have any weaknesses? And, and I used to have to really kind of explain to people, about
Right.
what that, what type of response would be a good response to something
Right.
like that.
Right.
But, so now, tell in terms of say about now, what is something, now you mentioned some of the programs, so what is your ultimate goal that you would like to do with this help site? What are you trying to progress into doing
Okay.
with the help site?
I want the help site to grow, and I also want it to be opportunity for other people, because sometimes people need to volunteer and they
Okay.
have talents and skills. So I want that to be a place for that. And then also, I really do want to, be in the community helping. One of the things that I want to do, I have a daughter who is diabetic, and she is type 1.5, which 1.5 is somewhat newer that they're diagnosing. You don't know you have it until you're in your late 20s, and once you have the onset, you can control it by your diet for the first couple of years, and then after that, you have to be on insulin the rest of your life, like juvenile diabetes. And then one of the difficulties for her is her body is insulin resistant.
Okay.
So there's only 4 kinds. I think a new one came out. So I wanted people to share their story about how they deal with it. She's not a health professional, but she's gone through a lot, and every time she speaks to someone about her condition, they go, I've been going to the doctor. I've been diagnosed 10 years, and I learned more from you in 5 minutes than my doctor told me the whole time. So sometimes just sharing with others, how you deal with something, like, hey, I'm not a health professional, but here are things that were helpful for me. And I want to do it because there are other diseases that are common in the community, autoimmune diseases, things like that people struggle with. So that's one of the things that I would like to get some groups going for that. Also, I work with, in the career development thing, I work with returning citizens.
Okay.
So I've been really excited about one of them. He's coming a long way, because when he first got out, he was pretty frustrated, And over the years, just working with young people, children, things like that, I realized that people who act the most obnoxious, that didn't come out, but usually it's because they're hiding something.
Okay.
They can't read, there's a challenge. So instead of me getting frustrated, I try to figure out, okay, so what's going on with you? Why are you acting like this? And I've been pretty successful in identifying what's going on. So he was super frustrated. Well, I figured out what it was. He didn't really know how to use the internet. He had been in prison for a while, and then in coming out, it's a whole different world. Trying to get a job, you don't go in and get an application and fill it out. You go online.
Right.
So we met at the library, because that's what I do. I don't have a standard location yet.
Okay.
I don't have a work site, but I will go and meet people where they are. So we met at the library, and first he's like, "Well, you do it." No. I'm going to show you how to do it. Because another thing I learned over the years is people who are hands-on tend to remember better, and they retain it better. So I will help you, but this is your application, so you have to do it. I'm not working that job. So he actually is doing quite well now.
Well, like I tell
So-
people, the thing is that, yes, a lot of times, if you don't use it, you tend to lose it. So the thing is that, as you said, and I totally agree, you do want to be more hands-on, on some things. But so now, if somebody is interested in getting more information or to utilize the services with the help site, what number or how would they get in contact with you?
They can go on Facebook, and there is the help site page.
Okay.
And just go in there, go in the inbox, leave me a post, and I'd be happy to connect with you right away.
Okay, good.
I usually
good.
get back in less than 24 hours. So
Oh,
right now,
okay.
that's the easiest and best way to connect with me,
So nobody has any excuse. You will get back with them within 24 hours. So
or less.
if they need help. Okay.
That's right.
Now, another project that you are involved in is A Taste of Hastings Street.
Yeah.
Okay, can you explain what is A Taste of Hastings Street? That kind of intrigues me a little bit.
Okay. Well, there's a whole story that goes with that. It kind of started when, again, I'm from Detroit, and I mentioned going to Georgia.
Okay.
And I mentioned getting downsized while I was in Georgia. Well,
And for those of you, the 2 or 3 people that might not know what the word downsizing means, it may mean in terms of say, well, she may be let go
you got laid off.
or laid off. Okay.
Right. No, I wasn't let go. I was laid off. But after I got laid off, the good thing was while I was in Georgia, I met a great guy. So he convinced me to stay for a while. So I did. And then while I was there, I stayed for a few years. He works for the federal government. He wound up getting a job transfer here.
Okay.
So I wound up back in Detroit. So I was like, I'm back. Well, I had been here in 2012 for a visit, and being a homeborn Detroiter, I love Detroit. You have that special love for the city. And so I was here in 2012, and of course, we know there were some challenges going on, but it was a different city. So when I came back in it was late 2016, I said, what happened? Like downtown was all different. Brightmoor was gone. Like what happened to whole neighborhoods, So it was kind of a shock for me. So I just started thinking back on the history, back on my family. I came from a family of entrepreneurs. And when I did that, I said, I don't want everything of Detroit to be forgotten. It's always good to move forward, but you move forward off of, what happened with other people. So that was kind of what made me think of Taste of Hastings Street.
Now, when you say you're from a family of entrepreneurs, who are some of the family members that were the entrepreneurs in the city of Detroit?
Okay. All right. Some of our more seasoned Detroiters, I'll put it that way, would remember. So there was Carl Shrimp House, and there was Louise's Shrimp House.
Okay.
So Carl was my great uncle, and Louise was my grandmother. So they were kind of an inspiration for me. My cousins teased me. At 10 years old, I was peeling like 75 pounds of shrimp every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. They said that child labor laws were invented just for me. So I would say my grandmother was my main inspiration. So again, I came back and I saw these changes, and some of them were pretty good, but, and not to be, I guess racist is a hard word, but I didn't see a lot of melanin. And I'm like, we're part of the story too, So I started thinking about my grandmother's place, and I knew they started in Black Bottom. So I knew about Black Bottom, and I knew about Paradise Valley, and then that just started my journey on getting this location open.
Okay.
Now,
let's say again, for those 1 or 2 people that don't know about Paradise Valley and Black Bottom,
right.
Where are these streets located at? Or where is this area located at?
Okay. Well, where the area was located, if people are familiar with northbound Chrysler 75 downtown, with 375 that takes you up to Gratiot off of 75. Also Lafayette Park. So you know where Lafayette Towers and those over that area. And then actually the neighborhood was a lot bigger than I realized. And if you talk to other historians, there's discrepancies on where it ended and began, but everyone says the one side of Gratiot was Black Bottom
Okay.
And the other side was Paradise Valley.
So one side was Paradise Valley, the other side
Yes.
was Black Bottom.
Yes.
Okay.
So Paradise Valley was more entertainment. So they call that pre-Motown. And
Okay.
then Black Bottom was more residential, more homes, more families, things like that. There was a mixture of both in both areas, but primarily those were the larger concentrations of that
So you
type.
say Paradise Valley was the entertainment. So that's where
Yes.
you would go to some of the bars or the lounges and places
Oh,
like
yeah.
that for your
Yeah.
entertainment.
Yes.
Where we had probably a lot of the more prominent entertainers
Oh, yeah.
throughout the country that used to perform there in Paradise Valley.
Cav Calloway. There were some big names and little names, but many names came through. That was a place to be. There
Did
was
you
even
meet any of those individuals? Did you meet any
No,
celebrities?
I didn't get a chance to meet Cav Calloway. I have met. Well, I've talked to some semi-celebrities. Again, I call it my journey. You know, I used to be one of those people. I never lived in the moment. I
Okay.
worked to get to the moment, but the second I got to the moment, I was on to the next. So I never really enjoyed it. And in doing this project, I talked to many other entrepreneurs who had successful ones that were already open, and they didn't even know each other, but they all had a recurring theme, and they may not have realized it. And they said if they had to go back and do one thing over, they would have enjoyed the journey to get there. They were so focused on the day the doors open, they never appreciated how they got them open. So I said, me already being like that naturally, I didn't want to fall into that. So almost the journey to opening is just as exciting to me as getting there, and how I keep meeting people who fall into what I'm doing and who are excited about it and keep connecting me to other people.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you say you had a phone conversation with a couple people. Who were some of the people that you had the phone conversation with?
Okay. Well, do you remember the Floaters and
Yeah,
Detroit
Float
Emeralds?
On, right. And the Detroit
Exactly.
Emeralds? Is
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay.
Well, I have a friend who I mentioned to her what I was doing with my project, and she goes, "Oh, you need to talk to Uncle Doom."
Uncle
And
who?
Uncle Doom. That's
Doom.
that's what the family calls him, Uncle Doom. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay. So I really didn't know what to expect. So I called Uncle Doom on the phone, but it turns out that he sang in, and I'm not sure which group. What I learned from him was the Floaters and Detroit Emeralds were like brothers and cousins.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the, and I can't remember for sure if one group was all brothers and the two groups were cousins.
So
or
they
if it
weren't
was
interrelated, but
brothers and
they were
cousins.
all brothers in one group and all cousins in another group.
Not positive on that point, but I know between the two groups, they were brothers and cousins.
Okay.
And they wrote Float On, so it was one from the Floaters and one from Detroit Emeralds. So it just so happens that Uncle Doom, and I still have to figure out which one of the Floaters he is, because he was in the Floaters, but Uncle Doom wrote it with the other member from Detroit Emeralds.
Okay.
I believe he told me it was a cousin. But anyway, in connecting with him, he was so excited about the project. He said he's still connected with a lot of people, and he would definitely support, me getting my doors open and come out and do some performances and things like that. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember those songs because I remember Float On. That was,
Oh, yeah.
that was an interesting song from back in the day. So I know some of our listeners, some of our viewers will probably be ready to say, the minute you say that song, Float On, they automatically float on.
Right.
They ready to
Float
start
on,
singing it,
float
right?
on.
And what's I think this is Larry. I think that's one
Right,
of the
right.
lyrics in there. So we know there's somebody in the group that's named Larry.
Right,
so we know
right.
that probably is not your
I can't remember
person
if he was a
Doom that
Leo.
you right. Okay. And then I remember the
Right.
Detroit Emeralds. So don't
Yes.
ask me to remember the song that they sang.
They
but
had one about a washing machine. I forgot.
a washing machine.
He was
Okay.
going to buy her. I think they bought her a washing machine so she could keep her new clothes clean or something like that. I forgot.
Bought her a washing machine so she could keep her clothes clean.
Don't quote me.
Okay.
I can sing the song with the record, but I can't think of it off the top of my
Okay.
head.
so now with this a taste of Hastings Street.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? What is a taste of Hastings Street? Is this a
Okay.
restaurant or what is this?
Okay, good question. A Taste of Hastings Street will be a restaurant event space.
Okay.
The goal is to have it open for lunch, and then in the evenings, we'll either have private catered events or we'll do company-sponsored events, such as a vintage karaoke night or vintage dance night, anything that honors the era. And how I got the name, I really didn't even know what to call it. I applied to Motor City Match. Are you familiar with that? Okay, so I won one of the rounds. They had 50 awards for your business idea.
Okay.
So there were, I heard, about 450 or so applicants, and they had 50 awards. So I was proud to win that.
So what did you have to do to qualify to get the award?
Quarterly, but I think not this quarter. The next one might be September 1st. They take applications. So there's 4 areas that you can apply in, and it just depends on where the business is. So if it's just an idea, you can apply for a business plan, and you'll be one of 50 winners to get a business plan class. Another round is space.
Okay.
So if you have your business plan, but you don't have a brick and mortar location, then you can apply for space. So far, I've won both of those awards.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm trying to keep moving forward. Once you have your space, you can apply for architect. Now, a lot of people like to skip architect and go to money, but architect is important because, number one, they're expensive. You have to have plans if you're doing any building, and then also they help get your permits through the city, which is important and costly. So you do that, and then your final round is money. Now, one thing about Motor City Match with money, they don't give you money, but they will match money. So say, for instance, just you have $10,000, they will match your $10,000. And each round the awards go down. So space is 25 awards, architect is 7, and then with cash it varies. So they have $500,000 if they do a quarter, and they just divide it up among whoever applies. And usually how you're selected in that round, I'll give you a tip, whoever is closest to getting their doors open. So if you're 6 months and the other person is 5 months, they'll pick them over you, but then that just means you should apply the next quarter because now you're that much closer to
You're
opening.
closer to opening up your doors.
Okay.
So now you say this is going to be a place where people can come for live entertainment and then to eat. And now, have you found a actual site where you'd like to do this at, or are you still in the process of trying to determine where you're going to locate this at?
I'm still looking. One of the things, Live 6 Alliance has been courting me.
Livernois is a 6 Mile?
Yes,
Okay.
Avenue of Fashion. But Live 6 is the alliance. They're responsible for a lot of the development, even like, the jazz night and things like that. So shout out to Jeremy Lewis. He's been a great supporter. He is the corridor business manager. So he really believes in me and my business, and I appreciate him for that. And he turns opportunity my way whenever he comes across something. So recently, I'll have a website that should be live soon. I have an appointment Thursday. So Jeremy sent something to me about new entrepreneurs. It was a program called Rebrand Cities through Venture USA and WordPress. It was $25 to attend, and for $3 you can get your website built and hosted by WordPress for an entire year. So that was awesome. Yeah. So I'm really thankful to him for recommending me. And then I have an appointment Thursday, and I'm gonna see the website, and it should go live soon. So look for it, tasteofhastingstreet.com.
Well, the great thing about this is that it's great to have, persons such as yourself that want to give back to the city of Detroit, the city they were raised in.
Yeah.
And, instead of taking their business someplace else and going to another state, another city, that is great to have you come back and still want to go and be a part of the rebirth of areas throughout the city of Detroit.
Right.
There's a lot of areas in the city of Detroit that could use fresh ideas and new entrepreneurs to come in and do some things, in those areas. So I applaud you, for doing that.
Thank you.
And I pray that your business endeavors are going to be very, very successful and very fruitful. And we definitely will have to have you come back on the show again to, be able to go and espouse about some of the successes that
you so
you
much.
have come across.
Right.
And the thing is that if somebody would like to be a part of your endeavor, of your initiative, is there a contact information that they can get in touch with you? So let's say, for example, somebody wants to invest in a Taste of Hastings Street. what might that website be, or what might that phone number or contact information be?
Okay. Currently, I have a Facebook page, A Taste of Hastings Street, so you can find it under that. I will be going live shortly on Instagram and Twitter. You can send an inbox on Facebook, and then also I have an email. The email is atasteofhastingsstreet@gmail.com. Yep. So one of the things too, thank you for saying about coming back to the city, because it was so interesting. Again, referring to this being a journey. When I came back and I saw the changes and I wanted, history to be remembered, I started thinking about my grandmother's business and I started researching. So she was my inspiration. I had a picture of her, but she's been around for a long time, and I always said she was ahead of her time.
What was her name?
Louise Bradley.
Louise Bradley.
Louise
Okay.
Bradley, and she had.
Well, we can't show a
Louise's
picture.
Shrimp
We'll give her a
House.
shout out.
Right,
Okay.
right. We give her a shout out. She lived to be almost 101.
Wow.
Yes. Yep. So that's why I was here in 2012. She passed in 2012. But in researching her, I just had so much more respect for her. And I realized she was state of the art for her time. So I wanted to just tell a little bit about in doing the research and then how I came up with the name. Because when I started on the journey, I didn't even have a name for it. I just knew what I wanted to represent. So I started Googling pictures online, and I found a picture of a block, and I saw this red sign there. It said chicken and shrimps, but it had an S on the end, and I'm like, I know my family knew better than that because I grew up in the restaurant and I never saw that. But just anyway, I sent it to my mother, and my mother goes, "Oh my God, that was their place." She said, "But there's a story behind that sign." And so I was like, really? I'm fascinated. So I asked her what the story was. So she said, and then I have to give you the other backstory to that.
Well, we got less than 30 seconds.
We got
so-
30 seconds?
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we can't hear that. But anyway, how it got to be A Taste of Hastings Street is Hastings Street basically was the Woodward Avenue, just like
Okay.
Detroit. So I decided to call it A Taste of Hastings because all the main businesses were off of it.
Okay.
And so each menu item is going to be named after a business that existed there. So we're going to have Carl and Louise's Shrimp. We're going to have Joe Louis Brown Bomber Chicken.
Okay,
Things
okay.
like that.
Well, that's excellent. I'm so pleased to have met you today. I'm so pleased to have had you as a guest on my show today. I know that we'll have to bring you back to, as I said again, to talk about the successes. And I know you're destined for many, many successes in the near as well as in the distant future. So
Thank you so
I definitely know that you're going to be coming back, and we're going to probably be seeing more of Kimberly Cooley.
That's right.
A Taste of Hastings Street,
Taste of Hastings
as well
Street.
as what you do with the help site.
Yes.
So I appreciate you coming on the
Some
show.
people employed.
Definitely. And if you would like to go and get more information, please, you can contact those phone numbers or go onto her Facebook page to get that information. Again, you have been watching Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun News. And you can pick up a copy of the Detroit Native Sun newspaper at your local Kroger supermarkets. And if you'd like to advertise in the Detroit Native Sun News, you can contact Ms. Valerie Lockhart at area code 5944. Again, 313-457-5944. And you've been watching Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. And I do want to just leave you with this final quote, that life is an echo, and what you send out comes back. And that's a Chinese proverb. Again, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned next week. Next week, the awesome Sharon Dumas is going to be here, and we'll be talking about some of the programs and some of the initiatives that she's doing with Full and Fabulous. Again, thank you again. This is Darwin Griffith. I am signing out. Take care.
My name is Watson.
And my name is Mariah.
We're 12 years old.
And we're representing Old Redford Academy Middle School. And we're here to talk about drugs. Drugs are very dangerous and unhealthy.
And they can also ruin a relationship with your loved ones. Go talk to a family member, a friend, even a teacher, or you can go to a therapist, or if you need any extra help, you can go online and find all of those.
#NotWorthIt.